Chapter 1. The morning mist clung to the valleys of the Crescent Pack's territory, a quiet sprawl of pine forests and rocky hills. Ilara Wren, a slight figure with chestnut hair tied in a loose braid, moved silently through the pack's modest village. Her worn boots barely disturbed the damp earth as she carried a basket of herbs, her eyes scanning the ground for the telltale leaves of feverfew. To the pack, she was simply the mute girl, a lower-ranked Omega who kept to herself, her voice never heard. But Ilara was far more than she seemed, a skilled healer hiding a dangerous secret. She paused near the pack's communal kitchen, where a group of women prepared the day's meal. The scent of roasting venison filled the air, but Ilara's attention was on Leela, a young mother clutching her toddler, who was flushed and whimpering. Lara approached cautiously, her head bowed to avoid drawing attention. "Leela, is he all right?" asked Mara, a wiry woman with graying hair, her hands busy kneading. "Do." Leela sighed, brushing a hand over her son's forehead. "Fever's back. I don't know what to do anymore. The pack healers too busy with the warriors." Lara hesitated, then set her basket down and gestured toward the child, her hands moving in deliberate signs. "May I help, Lila?" Familiar with Ilara's silent ways, nodded gratefully. Lara knelt, her fingers gently probing the boy's neck and temples. His fever was high, but not dangerous yet. She reached into her basket, pulling out a small pouch of crushed feverfew and chamomile, then mimed brewing it into tea. "Always so kind, Ilara," Lila said softly, her eyes tired but warm. "I don't know how you know these things, but thank you." Ilara offered a small smile, her heart pounding. Every act of healing risked exposure. She wasn't just an Omega, she was the banished daughter of the Iron Fang Alpha, cast out 5 years ago for defying her father's brutal rule. Her healing gift, rare among Omegas, was a secret she guarded as fiercely as her true identity. If the Crescent Pack knew who she was, they'd cast her out to a worse. Hand her over to her father's pack, igniting old grudges as she handed Lila the herbs. A commotion stirred at the edge of the village. Hooves thundered and voices rose. In excitement, Ilara's stomach tightened. The new Alpha was arriving today. She slipped into the shadows of a nearby cabin, watching as a tall figure dismounted a black stallion. Kale Thorn, broad-shouldered and sharpened, surveyed the pack with an intensity that made Ilara's skin prickle. House's dark hair was tied back, and his presence commanded silence from the gathered wolves. "Welcome, Alpha Kale," said Torin, the pack's beta, a grizzled man with a scar across his cheek. "The Crescent Pack is honored." Kale's gaze swept over the crowd, lingering briefly on Ilara's corner before moving on. "I'm here to lead, not rule," he said, his voice deep and steady. "We'll rebuild this pack together. Show me your strength, and I'll show you mine." The pack murmured approval, but Ilara's heart raced. She couldn't afford to be noticed not by an alpha with eyes that seemed to see too much tot. Chapter 2. The pack gathering that evening was a flurry of firelight and chatter. The village square alive with wolves eager to impress their new alpha. Ilara kept to the edges, her hood pulled low, serving stew to the children who darted around her. She avoided eye contact, her hands steady despite the nervous flutter in her chest. Kale's arrival had unsettled her. He wasn't like the old alpha who'd barely noticed the Omegas. This one watched everything. Kale stood near the central bonfire, speaking with Torin and a few senior warriors. His presence was magnetic, drawing eyes even from those who pretended disinterest. Ilara caught snatches of their conversation as she moved closer to refill a tray. The Iron Fang packs. "Been too quiet," Torin said, his voice low. "They're planning something. We need to strengthen our borders." Kale nodded, his expression unreadable. "I've heard of their alpha, Darius, ruthless. We'll prepare, but I won't provoke a fight without cause." Ilara's blood ran cold at her father's name. She turned away, nearly dropping her ladle. As she steadied herself, a warm hand grazed her arm. She froze, looking up to find Kale's piercing gray eyes on her. "Careful," he said, his tone gentle but probing. "You're Alara, right? The one who doesn't speak?" She nodded quickly, her throat tight. His gaze lingered, and she caught a flicker of something curiosity, maybe, or recognition. Her scent, she realized with a jolt, the mate bond. It was faint, but undeniable. A pull that made her want to step closer and flee at the same time. Did he feel it too? "Alpha, over here," Torrin called, breaking the moment. Kale released her arm, but his eyes held hers a second longer before he turned away. Ilara retreated to the kitchen, her hands trembling. "Stupid," she whispered. To herself, the first word she'd spoken in months. She couldn't let him get close. If he sensed a bond, he'd dig deeper, and her carefully built life would unravel. That night, as she lay in her small cot in the Omega barracks, Ilara replayed the moment. Kale's eyes had seen too much. She'd have to be more careful, blend into the background even more. But a part of her, buried deep, wondered what it would be like to be seen not as the mute Omega, but as herself. Chapter 3. The next morning, Ilara woke to the sound of rain pattering on the barracks roof. She dressed quickly, pulling on her cloak, and headed to the healer's hut to restock supplies. The pack's official healer, old Garen, was gruff but kind, and he'd taken a liking to Ilara's quiet efficiency. She worked in silence, sorting dried herbs while Garen muttered about aching joints. A knock startled her. Kale stood in the doorway, rain dripping from his cloak. Garen stood, bowing slightly. "Alpha, what brings you?" "I need to speak with Ilara," Kale said, his tone calm but firm. Garen raised an eyebrow but shuffled out, leaving them alone. Ilara's pulse raced. She kept her eyes on the table, gesturing. "What do you need?" Kale stepped closer, his scent pine and earth overwhelming her senses. "I know you're not what you seem," he said softly. "Your scent, it's different, stronger. You're my mate, Ilara." Her hands froze. She shook her head, signing frantically. No, mistake. But her heart betrayed her, thudding with the truth of the bond. "I'm not here to expose you," Kale continued, his voice low. "You're hiding something, and I'll keep your secret. But I need to know you're not a threat to this pack." Lara's eyes widened. He knew she was a muter, at least suspected it. She sighed. "I'm no threat. I just want to stay." He studied her, then nodded. "All right, mate. But I'm watching. You, Ilara, not because I don't trust you, but because I do." She stared after him as he left, her mind reeling. He hadn't pushed her to speak, hadn't demanded answers. His promise to protect her secret felt like a chain as much as a shield. She couldn't afford to trust him, not when her father's shadow loomed over her life. That afternoon, Leela stopped by the hut with her son, now fever-free. "You're a miracle, Ilara," she said, hugging her. "I told Mara, you're better than old Garen." Lara forced a smile, but Lila's praise was a double-edged sword. Attention was dangerous. As she worked through the day, she felt Kale's gaze from a distance, watching her at the market, the training grounds, the communal fire. He was keeping his word, but it only heightened her fear. How long could she hide from an alpha who saw too much? Chapter 4. The pack's training grounds were a chaotic blur of sparring wolves and shouting warriors. Ilara stood at the edge, delivering a salve to old Garen for a young fighter named Joran, who had taken a deep claw wound during practice. Blood soaked his arm, and he gritted his teeth as Garen applied the salve. "Hold still, boy," Garen grumbled. "Ilara, fetch more bandages." Ilara nodded, hurrying to the healer's cart. As she returned, she noticed Kale observing from a nearby ridge, his arms crossed. Joran's wound was worse than it looked, deep enough to risk infection. Lara hesitated, then knelt beside Garen, signing. "Let me try something." Garen frowned, but stepped back. Ilara pressed her hands to Jerome's arm, channeling her healing gift, warm, tingling energy she'd hidden since childhood. The wound began to knit, the bleeding slowing. Jerome's eyes widened. What did you do? Got a neck, Garen said, covering for her. Don't ask too many questions. Ilara glanced at Kale, who was now walking toward them. Her stomach nodded. Had he seen? She stood, wiping her hands on her apron, signed to Garen. I'll get more herbs. Stay, Kale said, his voice cutting through the noise. He crouched beside Joran, inspecting the wound. This is impressive work. Garen, you trained her. Well, Garen grunted. She's got her own talents. Kale's eyes flicked to Ilara. I'd like you to assist Garen more officially. We need skilled hands, especially with tensions rising. Ilara's heart sank. More visibility meant more risk, she signed. I'm not trained. Just help where I can. You're more than you let on, Kale said, his tone unreadable. I'm not asking Ilara. I'm assigning you. She nodded reluctantly, her mind flashing back to her last day in the Iron Fang pack. She'd been 16, standing before her father, Alpha Darius, as he raged at her defiance. You're no daughter of mine, he'd snarled, casting her out. Her healing gift, a secret even then, had been her only solace as she fled. Now, it was pulling her into the light. That evening, as she sat alone by the river, Kale approached. You're afraid, he said, sitting beside her. Not of me, but of something bigger. Ilara, I can't protect you if I don't know what I'm facing. She shook her head, signing. You don't understand. It's not your burden. It is, he said, his voice firm. You're my mate. It makes it my burden. Ilara's chest tightened. Xi wanted to trust him, to spill the truth, but the risk was too great. Instead, she stood and walked away, leaving Kale staring after her in the moonlight. Chapter 5. The Pack's council meeting was held in the Longhouse, the sturdy building of oak and stone. Ilara lingered outside, delivering a poultice for Torrance. Old shoulder injury. Inside, voices rose in heated debate. Tia, she caught fragments through the open window. The Iron Fang packs moving closer, Torrance said. Scouts saw their tracks near the eastern ridge. They're testing us, said Mara, who doubled as the pack's quartermaster. Darius doesn't make idle moves. Kale's voice cut through. We strengthen our defenses, but we don't strike first. If Darius wants war, he'll have to bring it to us. Ilara's hands trembled as she wrapped the poultice. Her father's name was a blade to her heart. If he was probing Crescent territory, he might already suspect she was here. She slipped away before anyone noticed her eavesdropping. But Kale's voice followed her. Ilara, he called, catching up as she reached the village square. You heard that, didn't you? She froze, then sighed. I was just delivering medicine. His eyes narrowed. Your scent changes when you're scared. It's faint, but I notice. What do you know about the Iron Fang pack? Nothing, she signed. Too quickly, Kale stepped closer, his voice low. You're not just anything. I don't know your story yet, but I know you're running from something. If it's tied to the Iron Fang, I need to know. Ilara's throat burned with the urge to speak. I had to tell him everything: her father's cruelty, her banishment, the war her presence could spark. But she couldn't. She signed, I'm no one. Please, let me be. He studied her, then sighed. All right, but if trouble comes, you're not facing it alone. As he walked away, Leela approached, her son bouncing at her side. Lara, you look pale. Everything okay? Lara forced a smile, nodding, but her mind was elsewhere, tangled in memories of her father's cold eyes and the fear that her past was catching up. She couldn't let Kale or the pack pay for her secrets. She'd have to be more careful than ever or find a way to disappear. Again. Chapter 6. The Crescent Pack's training grounds buzzed with activity under a gray dawn sky. Ilara Wren stood near the healer's cart, her hands busy sorting bandages, while old Garen barked instructions to a group of young wolves learning basic wound care. Her chestnut braid was tucked under a scarf, her eyes darting nervously toward the center of the field where Alpha Kale Thorn oversaw sparring matches. Since their tense exchange by the river, Kale's gaze had followed her more often, a quiet intensity that made her feel both protected and exposed. Ilara, fetch the Yara. Sav, Garen called, snapping her from her thoughts. She nodded, hurrying to the cart, but paused when Kale's voice cut through the clamor. Ilara, he said, striding toward her. The warriors parted, their eyes curious. A word. She froze, her hands tightening around a jar of salve. Signing quickly, she asked, "Is something wrong?" Kale's gray eyes softened, but his tone was firm. "No, but I need your skills. Garen says you're better than most at treating injuries. I'm making you his assistant officially." Lyra's stomach dropped. More visibility meant more risk of her secrets unraveling. She sighed. "I'm not trained. I just help." "You're more than you let on," Kel said, echoing his words from the river. "The pack needs you, especially now." Scouts spotted Iron Fang tracks closer than before. "If trouble comes, we'll need every healer ready." Her heart raced at the mention of the Iron Fang pack. Her father, Acarius, was circling, and she couldn't shake the fear that he was hunting her. She sighed. "I'll do my best." Kale studied her, then nodded. "Good. Start today. Garen will show you the ropes." He hesitated, lowering his voice. "And Ilara, you don't have to hide from me. Whatever you're running from, I'll stand between you and it." She swallowed hard, unable to meet his gaze. The mate bond tugged at her, urging her to trust him, but the memory of her father's cold voice, "No daughter of mine," kept her silent. She nodded and turned back to the cart, her hands trembling. Later, she worked with Garen to treat a warrior's sprained ankle. Leela approached with her toddler, now healthy and giggling. "Lara, you're a lifesaver," Leela said, her smile warm. "I heard you're Garen's assistant now. Proud of you." Lara forced a smile, signing. "Just trying to help." "You're too modest," Lila teased, then lowered her voice. "Teased? The Alphas got his eye on you. Be careful. He's kind, but Alphas always want something." Ilara's cheeks flushed, and she shook her head, signing. "He's just doing his job." Lila smirked, but didn't press. As she left, Torin, the pack's beta, approached with a grim expression. "Ilara, Garen, we've got a scout down. It's bad shape. Kale wants you both at the eastern outpost." Garen cursed under his breath. "Come on, girl," he said, grabbing his kit. Lara followed, her mind racing. The eastern outpost was close to Iron Fang territory. Her father's wolves were involved. Her presence could make things worse. At the outpost, a young scout named Ren lay on a cot, blood seeping from a gash across his chest. Kale stood nearby, his face taut with worry. "Can you save him?" he asked Garen. Garen examined the wound, then glanced at Ilara. "Deep, but not fatal if we're quick. Ilara, you take the lead." Her eyes widened, but she nodded, kneeling beside Ren. Her hands glowed faintly as she pressed them to his chest, channeling her healing gift to slow the bleeding. Ren's breathing steadied, and Garen grunted approvingly. "Good work," he said. Kel watched her closely, his expression unreadable. When she finished, he pulled her aside. "That wasn't just skill," he said softly. "You're hiding something bigger than I thought." "I meant what I said, Ilara. I'll protect you, but you need to trust me." She signed. "Thank you." Trying, but as she met his gaze, she felt the mate bond tighten, promise, and a burden she wasn't ready to carry. Chapter 7. The healer's hut was quiet that night. The only sound, the soft crackle of the fire. Ilara sat alone, grinding herbs by lamplight, her mind heavy with memories she'd tried to forget. The scout's attack had shaken her father's shadow. Larius's shadow loomed larger than ever. She closed her eyes, and the past flooded in. She was 16, standing in the Iron Fang Pack's great hall, her hands trembling as her father towered over her. "You dare question my orders?" Darius had roared, his eyes blazing. She'd refused to heal his favorite enforcer after he'd beaten a young Omega nearly to death. "Your gift is mine to command." When she stood her ground, he'd cast her out, his last words a vow. "If you ever return, you'll kill you myself." A creak at the door jolted her back to the present. Kale stepped inside. His cloak was damp from the evening mist. "You're up late," he said, his voice gentle. "Mind if I sit?" She sighed. "It's fine." Her heart raced as he pulled up a stool, his presence filling the small space. "You looked shaken at the outpost," he said, watching her hands. "That scout?" He said. The Iron Fang wolves mentioned a scent. One they recognized. "It's got me thinking about you," Alara's breath caught. She sighed. "I don't know what you mean, Dot." Kale leaned closer, his voice barely a whisper. "Your scent, Ilara. It's not just Omega. It's familiar, somehow, like the Iron Fang Alpha's bloodline. I'm not accusing you, but I need to know the truth. Are you running from Darius?" Her hands froze, mid-sign. She wanted to deny it, but the mate bond made lying impossible. She signed slowly. "I left my pack years ago. I don't want trouble." Kale's eyes softened. "I believe you, but I can't protect the pack where my people live. I'm blind. If you're tied to Iron Fang, tell me now." She stood, her chair scraping the floor, and sighed. "I'm not a spy. I swear it." Her fingers slipped, nearly forming the word father, and she gasped, covering her mouth. Kale's eyes widened, catching the mistake. "You're not mute," he said quietly. "Are you?" Panic surged through her. She shook her head, signing frantically. "Please, don't tell anyone." "I won't," he said, standing. "Your secret's safe with me. But Alara, whatever you're hiding, it's not just about you anymore. It's about us." He left her alone with her thoughts racing. Ilara sank back into her chair, her hands trembling. She'd nearly spoken, nearly broken her vow of silence. Kale's trust was pulling her closer, but every step toward him brought her closer to her past, closer to danger. Chapter 8. The next day, the pack village was alive with whispers. Lara felt eyes on her as she moved through the market, delivering poultices to Mara for the kitchen workers. The attack on Rin had stirred unease, and her new role as Garen's assistant made her a target of curiosity and doubt. "She's too good at healing," muttered a warrior named Gavin, loud enough for Ilara to hear as she passed. "And Omega doesn't add up." "Okay." Mara shot him a glare. "Mind your tongue, Gavin. Ilara's been nothing but kind." "Kind's one thing," Gavin said, crossing his arms. "But where'd she learn all that? She's hiding something." Ilara kept her head down, her heart pounding. She hurried to the healer's hut, where Garen was teaching her to brew a fever tonic. "Ignore the gossip," he grunted. "Pack's just scared. They'll come around." She sighed. "I don't want to cause trouble." "Trouble's already here," Garen said, nodding toward the window. Kale and Torin stood outside, talking in low voices. Iron Fangs getting closer. Kale's got enough to worry about without pack squabbles. That afternoon, Kale called a small meeting in the longhouse. Ilara was summoned to report on Ren's recovery. As she entered, she saw Torin, Mara, Lila, and a few warriors, including Gavin, who watched her with narrowed eyes. "Ilara," Kale said, his tone steady. "Tell us about Ren." She sighed, her hand steady despite the tension in the room. "He's healing well. The wound's clean. He'll be back on patrol in a week." Gavin snorted. "That fast? Sounds like magic to me." "Enough," Kale snapped, his eyes flashing. Ilara's under my protection. If anyone has concerns about her, you bring them to me, not to the market. Gavin flushed, but said nothing. Leela spoke up, her voice soft. Ilara saved my son. Okay, that's all I need to know about her. Mara nodded. Same here. She's got my trust. Ilara's chest warmed, but Gavin's suspicion lingered like a shadow. As the meeting ended, Kale pulled her aside. Hey, they're scared, he said, but they'll see what I see. You're loyal, she sighed. Thank you. I don't want to be a problem. You're not, he said, his voice firm. You're part of this pack, and part of me. The mate bond flared, and Ilara looked away, her heart torn. That evening, she sat with Leela by the communal fire. Leela squeezed her hand. Don't let Gavin get to you. He's just loud. You've got more friends here than you think. Lara nodded, but the whispers of suspicion echoed her father's voice, accusing her to stay hidden. She couldn't shake the feeling that her time in the Crescent Pack was running out. Chapter 9. The forest was silent as Ilara gathered herbs near the eastern ridge, a basket heavy with sage and comfrey. The morning air was crisp, and she moved quickly, eager to return before the pack noticed her absence. Kale had warned her to stay close, but the healer's hut was low on supplies. She couldn't risk Ren's recovery. A twig snapped behind her. Ilara spun, her senses sharp. A figure emerged from the shadows, a lean man with cold eyes and the scent of Iron Fang. Her blood ran cold. He was one of her father's scouts, Jarek, a cruel wolf she'd known as a child. Well, Jarek said, his voice dripping with menace. The Alpha's lost pup, Kiris, will be pleased to know you're alive. Ilara dropped her basket, backing away. She sighed. Leave me alone. Jarek laughed, still playing mute. Won't help you now. He lunged, grabbing her arm. Ilara twisted, free, her training from years of survival kicking in. She drove her knee into his stomach, then slammed her elbow into his jaw. Jarek staggered, cursing. You've got fight, he snarled, recovering. But you're coming with me. A roar split the air. Kale burst through the trees, his eyes blazing with fury. He tackled Jarek, pinning him to the ground. Who are you? Kale growled, his claws at Jarek's throat. Jarek smirked. Ask your little Omega. She knows me. Kale glanced at Ilara, his expression darkening. She shook her head, signing. He's Iron Fang. Let him go. Kale hesitated, then hauled Jarek to his feet. Tell your Alpha to stay out of my territory, he said, shoving him away. Next time, you're dead. Jarek fled, casting a final glance at Ilara. Kale turned to her, his chest heaving. You're hurt, he said, noticing the bruises on her arm. She sighed. I'm fine. Thank you. Don't thank me, he said, his voice raw. You could have been killed. Why were you out here alone? And why does an Iron Fang scout know you? Ilara's eyes filled with tears. She sighed. I didn't want to worry you. I'm sorry. Kale ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. Ilara, I can't keep you safe if you don't trust me. Wolf recognized you. Tell me why. She shook her head, unable to speak. Kale sighed, his softening. Right, said, but this isn't over than before. He escorted her back to the village, his presence a shield against the forest's shadows. Ilara's heart pounded. Knowing Jarek's escape meant her father would soon learn where she was. Chapter 10. The healer's hut was warm that evening, the scent of dried herbs mingling with the crackle of the fire. Lara worked alone, her hands steady as she bottled a fever tonic, but her mind was a storm. Jarek's attack had shaken her, and Kale's questions pressed against her resolve to stay silent. The mate bond, once a faint pull, now burned like a flame, urging her to trust him. A knock startled her. Kale stood in the doorway, his expression softer than she'd seen before. Come in, he asked, She nodded, signing. Of course. He sat across from her, his hands clasped. I've been thinking about today, he said. That scout knew you, Alara, not just your face, your scent. He called you the Alpha's pup. Is it true? Are you Darius's daughter? Alara's breath hitched. She couldn't lie, not with the mate bond tying them together. She signed slowly. Yes, I am his daughter. I was banished 5 years ago. Kale's eyes widened, but he didn't interrupt. She continued, her signs deliberate. He wanted to use my healing gift for his warriors. I refused. He cast me out, said I was dead to him. Kale leaned forward, his voice low. Why didn't you tell me? I was afraid, she sighed. If the pack knew, they'd send me back. Or worse, it could start a war. He reached for her hand, stopping short when she flinched. I'd never let that happen, he said. You're my mate, Ilara. I knew it the moment I saw you. And I know you're not mutive, seeing you slip. I won't force you to speak, but I need you to trust me. The mate bond surged, warm and undeniable. Lara's eyes filled with tears. I do trust you, she whispered, her voice cracking from disuse. It was the first time she'd spoken since arriving at Crescent Pack. Kale's face lit up, but he stayed calm. Thank you, he said softly, for telling me, for speaking to me. She nodded again, her throat tight. I don't know what Darius wants, Kale continued, but if he's coming for you, he'll have to go through me. You're not alone anymore. Kella looked into his eyes, seeing the strength and sincerity there. For the first time in years, she felt a glimmer of safety. I don't want to hide anymore, she said, her voice stronger, but I'm scared. No, he said, finally taking her hand. His touch sent a spark through her, the mate bond sealing their connection. We'll face it together. As he left, Ilara sat by the fire, her heart lighter, but her mind heavy. She'd taken a step she couldn't take back. But the thought of her father's wrath, Jarek's escape, kept her awake long into the night, wondering how long her newfound courage would last. Chapter 11. The Crescent Pack village was tense. Under a bruised evening sky, the air heavy with the scent of rain and unease, Ilara Wren sat in the healer's hut, her hands steady as she prepared poultices. But her heart raced with the weight of her confession to Kale Thorne. Speaking for the first time in years had felt like shedding a skin. But Jarek's escape meant her father, Alpha Darius of the Iron Fang Pack, would soon know her whereabouts. The threat of war loomed closer than ever. Outside, the pack gathered in the longhouse for an urgent council meeting. Ilara wasn't invited, but she lingered near the open window, catching snippets of conversation. Torin, the grizzled beta, spoke. First, his voice rough with urgency. The Iron Fang Pack sent a messenger at dawn. They demand a meeting on neutral ground tomorrow. They're claiming we're harboring a traitor. Kale's voice was calm but firm. Did they name this traitor? No, Torin replied. But their scout, Jarek, escaped yesterday. Cool. He saw Ilara, if she's who they're after. We need to know why. Ilara's stomach twisted. She gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles white. Leela, who'd been passing by with a basket of bread, noticed her distress. Ilara, you all right? She whispered, her toddler clinging to her skirt. Ilara nodded, forcing a smile. Tired, she said softly, her voice still unfamiliar. To her own ears, Leela frowned but didn't press. You've been jumpy since that scout attacked you. If you need to talk, I'm here. Thank you, Ilara murmured, her eyes drifting back to the longhouse. She couldn't hide forever, not with Kale knowing her secret and the pack's suspicion growing downside. Mara, the pack's quartermaster, spoke up. If Iron Fang wants a fight, we're not ready. Our warriors are strong, but their numbers dwarf ours. We need a plan, Kale. I'm working on it, Kale said, but we don't bow to threats. Darius wants a meeting. I'll go. Torin, Rin, you're with me. We'll hear him out, but we prepare for the worst. Lara's heart sank. She slipped away from the window, retreating to the hut where old Garen was sorting herbs. "You're pale as a ghost, girl," he grunted. "What's got you spooked?" "Nothing," she lied, her voice barely audible. "Just worried about the pack." Garen snorted. "You're a bad liar." "Let it slide. Help me with these salves. If war's coming, we'll need M.s." They worked. Kale entered the hut, his presence filling the space. Garen glanced up. "Alpha, need something?" "Lara," Kale said, his gray eyes locking onto hers. "Walk with me." She followed him outside, her pulse racing. The village was quiet now. The meeting dispersed. Kale led her to the edge of the square, where the bonfire's embers glowed. "I know you heard," he said. "The Iron Fangs demand? It's about you, isn't it?" Lara nodded, her voice trembling. "Yes, if my father knows I'm here, he'll use me as an excuse for war. He's ruthless." Kale's jaw tightened. "Then we keep you close. You're not leaving my side until this meeting's over. Understood?" "I don't want the pack to suffer because of me," she said, her voice breaking. "Maybe I should leave." Kale said sharply. "You're mine, my mate, my pack. Running won't fix this. We face it together." The mate bond pulsed between them, a warmth that steadied her. She nodded, swallowing her fear. "All right, but Kale, if he comes for me, promise you won't. Let him take me alive." His eyes darkened. "He won't touch you. I swear it." Chapter 12. The next morning, Ilara woke to the sound of hurried footsteps outside the Omega barracks. She dressed quickly, her hands shaking as she tied her scarf. The meeting with the Iron Fang pack was hours away, and the village buzzed with preparations. Warriors sharpened blades, and Mara distributed supplies, her face grim. Ilara headed to the healer's hut, where Garen was already packing a field kit. "You're with me today," he said. "Kale wants us ready in case the meeting goes south." She nodded, her throat tight. As they worked, a young warrior named Joran burst in, his arm still bandaged from his earlier injury. Ilara gasped, clutching his side. "It's Ren. He's hurt bad training accident." Ilara's heart leaped. Ren, the scout she'd saved, was one of Kale's trusted men. She grabbed her kit and followed Joran to the training grounds, where Ren lay on the grass, blood pooling from a deep gash across his thigh. A broken spear lay nearby, the result of a misjudged spar. "Move," Garen barked, kneeling beside Ren. Ilara joined him, her hands glowing faintly as she pressed them to the wound. The bleeding slowed, and Ren's pained gasps eased. By the moon, Joran whispered, watching her. "How'd you do that?" "Focus, boy," Garen snapped. "Get me clean cloth." Ela worked quickly, her gift knitting Ren's torn muscle. Kale arrived, his face taut with worry. "Will he live?" he asked. "Yes," Ilara said, her voice steady despite the eyes on her. "But he needs rest. No patrol for a week." "You're a miracle, Ilara," he said softly. "I've never seen anything like that." Gavin, the suspicious warrior, stood nearby, his eyes narrowed. "Too good, if you ask me," he muttered. "No, Omega heals like that. Enough." Kale growled, his voice cutting through the murmurs. "Ilara saved one of our own. You'll show her respect." Gavin backed off, but his suspicion hung in the air. As Ilara bandaged Ren's leg, Leela approached, her toddler in her arms. "You're amazing, Ilara," she said. "Don't mind Gavin. He's just scared." "You're healing," he said, his voice low. "It's not just skill, is it? It's something more." She hesitated, then nodded. "My father wanted to use it for his wars. That's why I ran." Kale's eyes softened. "You're not running anymore. This pack needs, we need you. We'll protect you, Ilara." She wanted to believe him, but the looming meeting with Iron Fang gnawed at her. What if my father demands me? she asked. What if he uses me to justify an attack? Then we fight, Kale said, his hand brushing hers. But we fight smart. You're not just a healer, our strength. The mate bond flared. And for a moment, Ilara felt invincible. Kale left to prepare for the meeting. Her fear returned. Her gift had saved Ren. But it might also doom the pack. Chapter 13. The neutral ground was a clearing at the border of Crescent and Ironfang territories, a stretch of rocky earth flanked by dense pines. Ilara stood at the edge of the Crescent Pack's group, her scarf pulled tight against the morning chill. Kale, Torin, and a handful of warriors faced the Ironfang delegation, led by a hulking beta named Vark. Darius hadn't come himself. A small relief, but Ilara's nerves were taut. Vark's voice boomed across the clearing. You're sheltering a traitor. Hand her over, and we avoid bloodshed. Kale's stance was unyielding. Name this traitor, or stop wasting my time. Vark's eyes flicked to Ilara, and she froze. The mute Omega, he said. She's no ordinary wolf. Our alpha wants her returned. She's Crescent Pack, Kale said, his voice ice. And my mate. You'll have to kill me to take her. The words hit Ilara like a thunderbolt. The mate bond surged, but so did her fear. Vark smirked. So be it. You'll hear from Darius soon. As the Ironfang wolves retreated, Torin muttered to Kale. They knew too much. Someone's talking. Ilara's heart sank. Back at the village, suspicion turned inward. Gavin cornered her near the market, his voice low and accusing. You're the reason they're coming, aren't you? What did you do? Back off, Gavin, Lila snapped, stepping between them. Ilara's one of us, she, Gavin said, his eyes cold. I saw her with that Ironfang scout. She didn't fight hard enough. Eli's voice trembled. I fought to live. Kale appeared, his presence silencing Gavin. You've got something to say. Say it to me, he growled. Ilara's loyalty isn't in question. But that evening, Kale called Ilara to the longhouse. Torin and Mara were there, their faces grim. We found evidence, Torin said. Gavin's been sending messages to Ironfang. He admitted, it thought, turning you over would prevent a war. Ilara's breath caught. He betrayed me. He betrayed the pack, Kale said, his voice hard. He's been banished, but the damage is done. Ironfang knows you're here. Mara squeezed Ilara's shoulder. You're not to blame, girl. Gavin's a fool. I brought this here, Ilara said, her voice breaking. Should've left. No, Kale said, stepping closer. You're home. We'll face this together. As Ilara left the longhouse, Lila found her, her face fierce. You're not alone, Ilara. We've got your back. Me, Mara, even Joran. Don't let this break you. Ilara nodded, but the weight of Gavin's betrayal and her father's looming threat pressed down. Okay, she clung to Kale's promise, but fear gnawed at her. How many more would suffer for her secrets? Chapter 14. The village was a fortress by dawn, with warriors patrolling the borders and Mara organizing supplies. Lara worked tirelessly in the healer's hut, preparing for the worst. Connie grumbled as they packed field kits, but his gruffness hid his worry. He said, even for you. My scared, Ilara admitted, her voice soft. My father, he won't stop. Garen paused, his eyes kind. You've got Kale and us. Don't forget that, horn sounded, signaling a messenger's arrival. With Torin and Ren, now limping but upright. A lone Ironfang wolf, a wiry female named Sable, stood before them, her expression cold. Darius demands his daughter, Sable said. Ilara, the traitor. Hand her over, or we attack at dawn. Kale's voice was steel. Ilara's, my mate, and a crescent wolf. Tell Darius, he'll get nothing but a fight. Sable's eyes flicked to Ilara, who stood behind Kale. You can't hide forever, pup, she said. Darius knows your scent. Ilara stepped forward, her voice steady despite her fear. Tell my father I'm not his anymore. I choose this pack. Sable smirked. Bold words. You'll regret it. Kel's eyes blazed with defiance. Ilara belongs to the Crescent Pack now. She's my mate. Sable, the iron-fanged messenger, smirked at Ilara, her sharp eyes glinting with malice. Bold words, pup, she said. Darius knows your scent. I can't hide forever. Lara stepped forward, her heart pounding, but her resolve firm. She'd spent years hiding, silencing her voice, but no longer his anymore, she said, her voice clear and strong, ringing out in a tense silence of the square. I choose this pack. The crowd murmured, a mix of pride and unease. Leela, standing nearby with her toddler clinging to her leg, nodded encouragingly. Joran, still limping from his injury, clapped a hand on Ren's shoulder, his eyes warm with support. Mara's stern face softened, and even old Garen, watching from the edge of the crowd, gave a grunt of approval. Sable's smirk faded slightly, but she held her ground. You'll regret this, Ilara, she said. Darius doesn't forgive defiance. Then he'll learn I'm not the girl he banished, Ilara replied, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. Home. Sable turned, her cloak swirling as she mounted her horse. You have until dawn, she said, then galloped off, leaving dust in her wake. Kale turned to Ilara, his expression a mix of pride and worry. And you meant every word. I did, she said, meeting his gaze. The mate bond thrummed between them, a steady pulse of strength. I'm done running. Torin clapped his hands, breaking the tension. All right, everyone, he called. You heard the alpha. Prepare the defenses. We're not handing over one of our own. The pack dispersed, warriors moving to their posts, while Mara barked orders to secure supplies. Lara returned to the healer's hut with Karen, her mind racing. Speaking out had felt liberating, but Sable's threat echoed her father's voice. Your mind to command. She defied him once before and paid the price. Now, her defiance could cost the entire pack. Inside the hut, Garen handed her a stack of bandages. You did good out there, he said gruffly, spoke like a true Luna. Now, focus, girl. We've got work to do. Lara nodded, her hand steady as she packed the field kits. I just hope I haven't doomed us all, she murmured. You haven't, Garen said, his tone firm. Shh, you've given us something to fight for. As night fell, Kale found her outside the hut, the stars right above. You were incredible today, he said, his voice warm. You gave the pack hope. I gave them a target, Ilara said, her voice low. My father won't stop. He'll come for me, Kale. Then we'll be ready, he said, his hand finding hers. The mate bond flared, a promise of strength. You're not facing him alone. She squeezed his hand, her heart torn between fear and resolve. I know, she said, but I can't lose your dim. You won't, Kale said, his eyes fierce. We're Crescent Pack. We protect our own. It's chapter 15. The night before the Iron Fang's deadline was sleepless. The village a hive of activity. Ilara worked late in the healer's hut, preparing salves and tonics with Garen, who'd taken to muttering encouragements between his usual grumbles. You're stronger than you look, girl, he said as they bottled a pain-relieving tincture. Don't forget it. Come trying, Ilara said, her voice steadier now. Using it felt like reclaiming a piece of herself, but the weight of tomorrow's threat pressed hard. She'd told Kale the truth about her past, but the pack didn't know the full story. If war came, they deserved to know why. At dawn, Kale called the pack to the square. Ilara stood beside him, her scarf loose around her neck, her chestnut hair catching the first light. Torin, Ren, and Joran flanked them, their faces set with determination. Mara and Leela stood among the crowd, their eyes steady with trust. Even Gavin's absence was a stark reminder of the Stig's betrayal had nearly broken them, but they'd rallied. Kale raised a hand for silence. "The Iron Fang pack comes at dawn," he said, his voice carrying over the murmurs. "They want one of our Zalara, but she's our healer, our heart, and my mate. We don't bow to threats." The pack cheered, but Ilara stepped forward, her heart pounding. "I need to speak," she said, her voice clear and strong, no longer hidden. A ripple of surprise passed through the crowd. Leela's eyes widened, and Joran grinned. "I'm not mute," she continued. "I've been hiding who I am because I was afraid. I'm Ilara Wren, daughter of Alpha Darius of the Iron Fang Pack." Gasps echoed, but Kale's steady presence beside her kept her grounded. "I was banished 5 years ago," she said. "My father wanted to use my healing gift for his wars. I refused, and he cast me out. I came here to start over, to be free. But he's found me, and he'll use me as an excuse to attack. Sorry for bringing this to you." The pack was silent, processing her words. Lila stepped forward, her toddler on her hip. "You saved my son," she said fiercely. "You're one of us, Ilara. No one's taking you." Joran nodded, his bandaged arm a testament to her skill. "You brought me back from the edge," he said. "We fight for you." Mara's voice boomed next. "Iron Fangs got no claim. Here, you're Crescent Girl. End of story." Tears pricked Ilara's eyes, but she held them back. "Thank you," she said. "I'll do everything I can to protect this pack." Kale took her hand, his grip firm. "You've given us your truth," he said, loud enough for all to hear. "Now we give you ours. You're our Luna, Ilara. We stand with you." The pack roared approval, their voices a wall of sound. But as they dispersed to their posts, Ilara pulled Kale aside, her voice low. "I need to tell you the rest," she said. "Kay, my father didn't just banish me. Kay swore if I ever defied him again, he'd kill me. My healing gift, it's not just skill, it's power. I can mend wounds others can't. That's why he wants me back." Kale's eyes widened, but his voice was steady. "Then he'll never have you," he said. "You're mine, Ilara, and I'm yours." She nodded, the mate bond a lifeline. "I want to stay," she said, "but I'm terrified of what he'll do." Kale's jaw tightened. "Let him come. I've got my own past. My father was a tyrant, too. I left his pack to build something better here. I swore I'd never let fear rule me again, and I won't let it rule you." Lara leaned into him, their bond a quiet strength. "Then we face him together," she said. As dawn approached, Ilara joined Garen to distribute medical supplies. Leela helped, her toddler asleep in her arms, while Mara coordinated food rations. Rin and Joran checked the warriors' gear, their loyalty unwavering. The pack was ready, and Ilara, no longer silent, stood with them. 16. The dawn sky bled red over the Crescent Pack's territory, a grim moment as the village braced for the Iron Fang Pack's attack. Ilara Wren stood at the edge of the square, her hands clutching a healer's kit, her chestnut braid loose in the wind. The pack had rallied behind her after her confession, their loyalty a shield against the fear of her father, Alpha Darius. But the weight of her past, pressed heavily sheet, brought this danger to their doorstep, to Kale Thorn. The Crescent Alpha stood atop a wooden platform, addressing the gathered pack. His broad shoulders were squared, his gray eyes fierce, and he comes for one of ours, he said, his voice carrying over the murmurs. "Ilara is our healer, our Luna, and my mate. We don't surrender our own, we fight as one." The pack roared, their voices a defiant chorus. Keela, her toddler, safely with Another family gripped Ilara's arm. "You're not alone," she whispered. "We've got you." Ilara's throat tightened. "Thank you, Lila," she said, her voice no longer hidden. "I just hope I'm worth it." "You are," Mara, the pack's quartermaster, said gruffly, joining them. Her graying hair was tied back, her hands busy checking a stack of arrows. "You've saved lives here. That's what matters." Torin, the beta, approached with Rin and Joran, both warriors now healed thanks to Ilara's gift. "Defenses are set," Torin said to Kale. "Archers on the ridge, warriors at the perimeter. Ilara, we need you to train a few Omegas in basic healing. If this goes bad, we'll need every hand." Ilara nodded, her resolve firm. "I'll do it now," she said, turning to a group of young Omegas nearby. "Listen carefully," she told them, her voice steady. "Bandages need to be tight, but not cutting off blood flow. For bleeding, press hard and use yarrow powder. I'll show you. Should have made you my apprentice years ago. I was too busy hiding," Ilara admitted, a wry smile breaking through her tension. "Not anymore." Jorn, standing nearby, grinned. "You're tougher than half the warriors, Ilara. Iron Fang doesn't know what's coming." Rin nodded, his expression serious. "You saved my life." Their words bolstered her, but as she finished the training, Kale pulled her aside. "You don't have to be on the front lines," he said, his voice low. "I can't lose you." "I'm a healer," she replied, meeting his gaze. "My place is where I'm needed. You can't protect me by keeping me back." His jaw tightened, but he nodded. "Then stay close to Garen, and if it comes to it, you run. Promise me." "I promise," she said, the mate bond pulsing between them. She touched his hand, a silent vow to fight alongside him as the pack dispersed to their posts. Ilara felt the weight of their trust. She wasn't just a mute Omega anymore. She was their Luna, their healer. A chilling prelude to the clash. Lara stood at the healer's station, near the village's edge, a makeshift tent where Garen barked orders to the Omegas she trained. But her eyes kept darting to the ridge, where Kale and Torian led the warriors. "Focus, girl," Garen snapped, handing her a stack of cloth. "Blood's coming soon enough." "I know," Ilara said, her voice steady despite the knot in her chest. She glanced at Lila, who was distributing water to the defenders. "Stay safe, Lila," she called. "You too," Lila replied, her face fierce. "We're counting on you." The ground trembled as Iron Fang wolves charged, their snarls echoing. Arrows flew from the ridge when Mara commanded the archers. "Ali, hold the line," she shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Ilara's heart raced as the first injured warrior. A young woman named Siva stumbled into the tent, blood streaming from a gash on her shoulder. "Got me good," Siva gasped, grimacing. "Sit," Ilara said, her hands glowing faintly as she pressed them to the wound. Her healing gift surged, knitting the torn flesh. Siva's pain eased, and she stared in awe. "You're incredible," Siva said, flexing her arm. "I can fight again." "Go," Ilara said, nodding toward the battle. "But be careful." Siva ran back. More wounded arrived. Lara and Garen worked tirelessly, her gift saving lives where skill alone wasn't enough. Jorn staggered in, a claw mark across his chest. "Iron Fangs targeting you," he panted. "Their beta Vark said to take the healer alive." Ilara's blood ran cold. "My father's orders," she said, her voice tight. "He wants my gift." "Danny's a fool," Garen growled, bandaging Jorn's wound. "For hours now." Sighed, Kale's roar shook the air, his wolf form a blur of black fur as he tore through Iron Fang ranks. Torin fought beside him, while Rin guarded the flank. Lara caught glimpses of the battle, her heart pounding with every clash. She wanted to run to Kale, to fight beside him, but her place was here, mending the broken. Lila rushed in, her face pale. "Lara, They're pushing through the eastern line. Kel's holding them, but we need more warriors. Tell Mara, too. Send the reserves, Garen said, his hands bloody. Lara, keep working. She nodded, her gift flaring as she healed a warrior's broken arm. But as she worked, a shadow loomed at the tent's entrance. Vark, the Iron Fang Beta, stood there, his eyes locked on her. Darius's pup, he snarled. You're coming with me. Ilara grabbed a scalpel, her voice steady. I'm not his anymore. Before Vark could lunge, Kale barreled into him, tackling him to the ground. You touch her, you die. Kale growled, his claws at Vark's throat. Vark laughed, blood dripping from his lip. You can't stop Darius. He'll burn this pack to ash for her. Kale threw him back, and Vark retreated, vanishing into the fray. Ilara rushed to Kale, her hands trembling. Are you hurt? She asked. I'm fine, he said, his eyes fierce. Stay here. We're not done yet. As he returned to the battle, Ilara's resolve hardened. She'd save every life she could, proving she was more than her father's weapon. Chapter 18. The battle raged into the afternoon. The air thick with dust and blood. Ilara's hands were stained red, her healing gift pushed to its limits as she and Garen tended a stream of wounded. The Crescent Pack held their ground, but the Iron Fang's numbers were relentless. Leela ran supplies between the tent and Mara's archers, her face grim but determined. Jorin and Ren fought on, their injuries bandaged but their spirits unbroken. A lull came as the Iron Fang wolves pulled back, their howls signaling a regroup. Kale entered the healer's tent, his fur matted with blood not his own. Wait. Planning something, he said, shifting to human form. Darius is here. I saw him on the ridge. Lara's heart stopped. My father, she whispered. He's come for me. Torin joined them, his scars stark against his pale face. He's demanding to parley. Says he'll spare the pack if you go to him. No, Kale said, his voice a growl. She's not his to claim. Ilara touched his arm, the mate bond steadying her. Let me face him, she said. I need to end this. Kale's eyes blazed. It's too dangerous. He'll kill you. He won't, she said, her voice firm. Wants my gift alive. I can buy his time. Reluctantly, Kale nodded. We go together, he said. Torin, Ren, Jorin flank us. Mara, keep the archers ready. Thali took place in the clearing where the battle had begun, now littered with fallen weapons. Darius stood tall, his dark hair streaked with gray, his eyes cold as they fixed on Ilara. Vark and Sable flanked him, their expressions smug. My daughter, Storia said, his voice dripping with disdain. You've caused me trouble. I'm not yours, Ilara said, stepping forward. Kale stayed close, his presence a shield. I'm Crescent Pack. I'm Kale's mate. Darius laughed, a cruel sound. Q, think this pup can protect you? You're mine, Ilara. Your gift belongs to Iron Fang. My gift is mine, she said, her voice ringing. You banished me. You lost any claim. Kale stepped forward, his voice deadly. You want her? Fight me. Single combat. Winner takes all. Darius's eyes narrowed. You'd risk your pack for her? I'd risk everything, Kale said, his hand finding Ilara's. She's my Luna. The pack murmured behind them, Leela's voice rising. We stand with Ilara. Darius smirked. So be it. The fight was brutal, Kale's strength against Darius's experience. Ilara's heart pounded as they clashed, claws and teeth flashing. Kale landed a blow to Darius's side, drawing blood. Darius retaliated, but Kale was faster, pinning him to the ground. Yield, Kale growled, his claws at Darius's throat. Darius spat blood, his eyes burning. She'll destroy you all. Kale spared his life, standing tall. Leave, and don't come back. Darius retreated, Vark and Sable dragging him away. Ilara collapsed against Kale, tears streaming. "You did it," she whispered. "We did it," he said, holding her close. Chapter 19. The village was quiet the next morning. The battle's scars evident in the torn earth and weary faces. Ilara moved through the healer's tent, tending the last of the wounded. Garen worked beside her, his gruff praise a comfort. "You held us together, girl," he said. "Proud of you." "Thanks, Garen," Ilara said, her voice soft but strong. She'd found her place, no longer hiding her gift or her voice. Leela approached, her toddler back in her arms. "You were incredible," she said, hugging Ilara. "You're our Luna. Now, whether you like it or not." Lara laughed, the sound foreign but welcome. "I'm starting to like it." Mara joined them, her arms crossed, but her eyes warm. "Iron Fang's gone, but we're not letting our guard down. So you're training more healers, Ilara. We need that gift of yours." "Gladly," Ilara said, her heart full. Joran and Ren stopped by, their wounds healing. "You saved us again," Joran said, grinning. "You're stuck with us now." Ren nodded. "Crescent Pack's stronger because of you." That evening, Kale called a gathering. The pack filled the square, their faces bright with hope. "We've faced war and won," Kale said, his arm around Ilara. "Ilara's our Luna, our heart. Will you accept her?" The pack roared approval, Lila and Mara leading the cheers. Lara stepped forward, her voice clear. "I came here hiding," she said. "You gave me a home. I'll spend my life protecting it." Kale kissed her, the mate bond sealing their unity. Torin clapped Kale's shoulder, his scar twisting with his grin. "You picked a good one, Alpha." As the pack celebrated, Ilara felt the weight of her past lift. She was no longer the banished daughter, she was home. Chapter 20. Weeks later. The Crescent Pack thrived under a crisp autumn sky. Ilara stood in the training grounds, teaching a group of Omegas to use herbs for healing. Leela assisted, her toddler playing nearby, while Garen supervised, his gruffness softened by pride. "You're a better teacher than me," he muttered. "Doubt that," Ilara teased, her voice now a natural part of her. She'd embraced her role as Luna, working alongside Kale to strengthen the pack. Mara approached, her arms full of supply lists. "Ilara, we're low on grain. I'm sending a trade party to the valley. Want to join?" "I'll stay," Ilara said. "Got a new batch of healers to train." Ren and Ren sparred nearby, their laughter echoing. "You're making us look bad, Luna," Ren called, dodging Ren's swing. "Keep up, then." Ilara shot back, grinning. That night, she and Kale walked the forest's edge, the stars bright above. "You've changed this pack," Kale said, his hand in hers. "You've changed me." "He gave me courage," Ilara said, leaning into him. "I was running from my past. Now I'm building a future." "Your father's still out there," Kale said, his voice low. "But he'll never touch you again." "I know," she said. The mate pawned a steady flame, stronger together. As they returned to the village, Torin greeted them, his face relaxed for the first time in months. "Peace talks with Iron Fang are set," he said. "Darius is licking his wounds." "You did that, Ilara." "We did that," she corrected, smiling at Kale. The pack gathered around a bonfire, Lila's toddler asleep in her arms, Mara sharing stories of past battles, and Joran and Ren joking with the younger wolves. Lara looked out at them, her heart full. She was no longer the mute Omega or the banished daughter. She was Ilara Ren, Luna of the Crescent Pack, and she'd found her strength in their love.